Hazardous materials, often referred to as hazmat, are substances or materials capable of posing an unreasonable risk to health, safety, and property when transported in commerce. In other words, hazmat can be dangerous. The things you are about to learn in this video could save a life, perhaps even your own. Hazmat safety includes not only knowing how to reduce the severity of an emergency, but also how to protect yourself and avoid accidents. This video helps you meet the safety training requirement. It was designed to provide you with the information you need to keep yourself and others safe around hazardous materials. At the end of this program, you'll be able to discuss the emergency response information requirements. You'll also be able to describe the types of safety training your employer may provide to keep you safe while working around hazmat. Your health and well-being, and that of those around you, should be of the utmost importance to you while working with or near any type of hazmat. Regardless of your job, all hazmat employees, including full-time, part-time, contract, and temporary workers, must be trained on how to stay safe while on the job. Because working with hazmat has the potential to be so dangerous, it is important for employers to take the necessary steps to train and protect their employees. Your company must have their own specific safety training guidelines for each of their hazmat employees. Before working with hazardous materials, you must receive training on the emergency response information requirements in the hazardous materials regulations. This includes the sections on emergency response information, emergency response telephone number, and carrier contact information. Even when all possible precautions are taken, accidents and incidents can happen. When hazmat is involved, the risks to health and the environment are even greater. Most hazmat shipments that require shipping papers must also be accompanied by emergency response information. This is so emergency personnel can respond accordingly in the event of a leak, spill, or other incident involving hazmat. The minimum required emergency response information that must be provided for each hazmat in the shipment includes the basic description and technical name of the hazmat. It must also include any immediate hazards to health and risks of fire or explosion. It'll cover what to do in the event of an accident or incident, how to handle a fire, and how to handle spills or leaks when there is no fire. And it will also address first aid measures. Emergency response information needs to be complete, in English, and printed legibly. But how this information is presented is up to the shipper. For instance, emergency response information can be listed directly on the shipping paper, or it can be provided in a document accompanying the shipping paper. This document could be the emergency response guidebook, or a safety data sheet, or another document. The document that is used must provide all the required information. No matter how your company chooses to provide the emergency response information, the key is that it needs to be readily accessible. This means you must keep the information with the shipping papers, away from packages containing hazmat, and in a location immediately accessible if needed. Shipping papers must include an emergency response telephone number, which can be called in the event of an accident or incident. The telephone number must ring to the person who offered the material for transportation. It can also ring to another company who has accepted the responsibility to provide information on the hazmat when called. The number must be monitored at all times the material is being transported, including when temporarily stopped or stored before reaching its final destination. The person answering the call must have knowledge of the hazards and characteristics of the material or have immediate access to someone who does. In addition, they must have emergency response information and be able to help in reducing the severity or seriousness of an incident. Carriers hauling hazmat, which require shipping papers, must tell the driver of the vehicle to contact them if an incident occurs during transport. This is also true if the hazardous materials are being transported by train, aircraft, or vessel. In addition, if a semi-trailer or freight container on chassis is separated from the tractor and parked, the carrier must either mark the trailer or container with their telephone number on the front exterior near the connections, or on a label, tag, or sign attached to the connections, or have the shipping paper and emergency response information readily available on the trailer or container. These requirements do not apply if the trailer or container is parked at a shipper's facility, recipient's facility, or a facility which has the emergency response information immediately available. These requirements also do not apply if the outside of the motor vehicle is marked on an orange panel, a placard, or a plain white square-on-point configuration with the identification number of each hazardous material being carried. Before working with hazardous materials, you must receive safety training from your employer on how to be safe while doing your job. This training must include how to protect yourself and how to avoid accidents. You must be trained on measures your employer has put in place to protect you from exposure to hazardous materials. This may include emergency and fire prevention plans, employee action plans, personal protective equipment, alarm systems, and ventilation systems. You must also be trained on methods and procedures for avoiding accidents. This could include proper filling, closing, handling, stacking, and loading of packages. Always follow your employer's established guidelines for handling hazmat and complete your job tasks exactly as you've been trained. If a situation arises that you have not been trained for or you are not sure what to do, consult your supervisor. Be alert to any potential problems as you complete your job responsibilities and plan ahead for things that could go wrong. Always be prepared to react quickly. This safety training program is just the tip of the iceberg. Soon, your employer will go over the specific hazmat you'll be working with and the measures you need to take to keep yourself safe. Pay attention to the training you receive and be on the lookout for possible dangers. Hopefully, you'll never be involved in an emergency situation.